Segment 3, Gold and Black Live, and welcome to Paul Sadler, Director of Creative Services for Purdue Athletics. Truly one of the best behind the scenes guys, because you don't see Paul all the time. You might see him running around, but he is doing lots with athletics and creating that image, and a lot of what you see from a social media standpoint, all kinds of things, and has done it for a long time. Paul, thanks for taking the time to join us today.
Thanks for having me, Alan.
Yeah, you look at that the world of college athletics and how it has evolved even since your time at Purdue, and you've had a couple stints actually with athletics. But talk about just how that role of social media image and how it all ties into marketing, and what now, Purdue has gone from a school, like I talked about earlier, that's kind of not been one to toot its own horn, not to be in your face a little bit more on that side. Now has gone into one of the best in the country in terms of presenting its image. But how has that continued to evolve from your perspective?
That's a common question I get a lot when I do things like this, and partly because probably I'm a dinosaur in the department, being here since 2011.
Yeah.
So when I started in 2011, it was just me. I worked out of the marketing offices, and my role was, I was a graphic designer, and my role was creating the marketing materials, the billboard art, the posters for all the teams. A lot of base. It was very print heavy. Obviously, not a lot of social media marketing at that time. That was kind of a new thing, and along with the explosion of social media and the need for recruiting, keeping up with the Joneses in that department of things, things have grown exponentially in our area. I started with hiring more student interns, and then it built into some extra staff, extra designers, videographers. I mean, today our creative services team, we've taken over half the basement in Mackey.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I think we have, I want to say 12, if I'm counting in my head, total, if you count us in the video board team. So it's huge now, and we still keep pushing administration to get us more. So the demand never stops.
Is it akin to an ad agency? I mean, it's almost an in-house agency. I mean, the ad agency world is so different now. I get, but it really is akin to that. You are an in-house agency that is you may not be buying time on back in the old days on television and radio. I get that, but you are creating and ultimately trying to sell the product.
Yeah, it's very much like an ad agency. That just, I think the biggest difference is we have to work 150 miles an hour. I mean, there's not a lot of time in our world for conceptualizing and strategizing and copywriters and project managers and all that stuff. It basically is someone asks for something, and it's got to be done probably that day. So it's just a constant quick turn of events.
Talk about the structure, because no question. So about the structure, how you work, and then football's got its own side of this with Ryan Walters taking on or coming to Purdue back in December of last year. But how is that structured, and how does that look? What does that look like?
Yeah, our creative area is kind of a three-headed monster as far as the leadership part of things. We all report up to Chris Pelliot in marketing and fan experience side of things, but I lead a portion. We have Ryan Long, who leads the football creative. Specifically, he has a team of a couple people, and then Brad Summers is, we call him director of big boards. He's kind of the guy that heads up the video board side of things, and he's got a couple people on his team. But my team specifically, we handle basically all the sport and John Purdue Club needs and everything for the department outside of football for the most part. So I have a team of 2 graphic designers, 4 videographers that work for a lot of the individual sports, and then a plethora of student associate helpers.
And talk about that. I know you say you're a dinosaur. You're still a young dinosaur compared to me, but
which I
appreciate. I know. I mean, it is funny how that works. But talk about that influx of students and what they bring to the table, because I think they probably bring a lot in your world in terms of just looking at it a little different, not just the Instagram world, but just the way that they approach it and how they digest this media that you're putting out.
Yeah. So like when I say being a dinosaur, like I lean heavily on the youth in our department. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a young person's game in this world, because you gotta, especially when it comes to the recruiting side of things, you gotta relate to 16 to 18-year-olds and create content that they're going to absorb. So a lot of me is sitting back and just nodding my head and saying, okay, I agree, that's probably a good idea. How can I help you get that done? So going back to the student question, I think this year's probably the most students we've ever had, and it's still not even close to what I would like to have. Like if you look around the country, a lot of programs get a lot of help from students, and I don't know if it's a Purdue thing where we don't have majors tied into what we do as much as some other programs do. So finding student helpers is always a challenge. We do have a great team of designers and videographers that help us out, but I've seen other programs that have 30, 40, 50 students that work it for their creative side of things, and we have like 8 maybe, I think.
Yeah. When you look at that, trying to herd the cat, so to speak, in terms of when you have an idea or you have or a student comes in and says, we want to present Zach Eady this way, or this is a recruiting, let's try this a little bit differently. How does that I mean, you talk about, you don't have time to sit at a big table and flush out ideas necessarily, but how does that process look like when you come and look for some different ways of presenting things?
I mean, our students aren't real involved on that side of things. But I do have, our volleyball, men's basketball, women's basketball, and volleyball have specific videographers and kind of my designers that work for them, and they meet with coaches and they meet with the support staff of those programs. And a lot of that stuff is directed down from the programs on what they want to do, how they want to be presented. So they're not all the same. They're kind of different depending on the coaching staffs. With Coach Painter, there's a lot of Coach Painter is very hands off when it comes to the creative side of things. He just trusts us to do what's right and portray them in the right way. And there's other coaches that want to be involved a lot more, and not one's not better than the other. It's just a different way that it's approached each way.
Yeah, I think you have an interesting of those three. You got Dave Shondell, Matt Painter, maybe a little more on the old school side, and then you have Katie Gerald's that seems to be women's basketball, at least from a consumer standpoint, more willing to push the envelope a little bit. Does that change? And that probably does bring a smile to your face. That's the fun part of this. You got different personalities working at it.
She's a blast. I mean, she
yeah.
I'm not totally involved in a lot of those meetings, but I'm sure there's things that are asked or brought up where we have to. I'm not sure if we can do that, but we love pushing the envelope if they allow us to. It's fun. We like to be edgy. We like to creative freedom, all that stuff.
Well, the BTFU shirt automatically does that. I mean, she's put herself out there, and
there's a few times we've put that around the building and on things, and I'm always kind of like, do we need to check with someone? Can we do that? And I'm sure she's gone up to Babinski and other people and gotten approval for those things.
I know Ryan Walters is a fan of it too, which is again, they're both about the same age, and it's just that's the difference in the way things are done, and it has had a tremendous impact, and it's a constant. People talk about it. I mean, they're always talking about that, and that's kind of ultimately what you want. You want to be able to create that buzz and that image. Talk about the difference between some of the stuff you do in fundraising, and there's a different world with what John Purdue Club needs done, and also what that and how that ties into, the difference in recruiting, where you've got prospects coming in there. It's almost two different ends of the spectrum, but you're both again trying to sell the product. Well, how do those differentiate from your view?
not sure if I'll answer this question right, but
Well, I'm not sure
as
I
far as
asked
what
it right. I'm not sure I
well,
asked
that's
it
fine. I
right,
was
but go
trying to
ahead.
digest it as you asked it, but as far as my role in the development side of things, obviously the John Purdue Club is part of our department. They're in our
Yeah,
building. I work with those people very closely, and there's a lot of creative needs that they need as well, and
yeah,
we have to fill that role. A lot of times, since I am the dinosaur in the department, and a lot of their needs are their targets are different than the recruiting targets, where that's an older generation of people for the most part.
sure,
I'm more likely to put my hat on for those projects and take them, because my team of designers and creatives are better suited to create that digital content for social media and stuff. And I'm happy to take on those projects that might be something that's not as fun for them. And I'm just maybe have the experience of doing it and being around for so long.
yeah. Like that
So
makes it.
it's not the
Yeah,
funnest thing creating, you know, direct mail pieces and solicitations and stuff like that. But it's something that I grew up doing. So I'm happy to take on those jobs. That's kind of
yeah,
the amount of hands-on design work that I do in my department. Like, as I said, my background's a graphic designer.
yeah,
Um, I don't design that much anymore. I lean on my staff heavily to do a lot of the work, but those are the jobs that I'm happy to take on and
yeah.
get done.
Mackey Arena will be a special place this year for men's and women's basketball, certainly. But the men, you're walking into a season where the Boilermakers will be in the top five. Yes, there's some things to prove. There's no question about that. But this is the environment that has been created in there has just been a constant step up. And I know that's Chris's job too, with fan experience and bringing that whole marketing piece together. But talk about that and just how from your perspective, when you have a Zach Edey, when you have a guy that's returning National Player of the Year, but you also have a brand that everybody is somewhat mesmerized by and excited about. What's that like as you look ahead, and what maybe are some things that without stating any trade secrets that we might see this year heading into the 23-24 season?
I mean, I don't think it's any secret that the Purdue Nation loves Purdue basketball.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say we're a basketball school, because we love all the sports here, but they go crazy for basketball content, and we're lucky to get to work for a program that's this is wildly popular as they are, like, and they give us a lot of freedom to come up with fun stuff and new ideas, and for the most part they let us roll with it. We often joke that we're always like joking that we can just throw up anything and we could get 500 likes on it from the
Oh yeah.
Boilerball account, just because they're so wildly passionate. But we do put a lot of thought into the stuff we create. We have a great time with it. We're really lucky.
So you do put in a lot of, like, the Caleb First last year,
Oh yeah,
that whole
the elf
thing
stuff.
process.
Yeah.
Take me through how that evolved, because just and getting Matt Painter to play the deadpan and which is great stuff. I mean, he played it perfectly. They both did. But does that evolve? Do you have a particular time? Hey, we got to decide on some of these things, or is that more on the fly? You come and look and say, man, Caleb First looks like that, like the elf. We got to make this work. How'd that go?
That comes up from the marketing and fan experience
Yeah.
department, from Chris Belliot's side. They kind of are the brainchilds behind that, and then lean on us to think to execute it. How do we do it? What are the scenes that we want to do and stuff? And Andrew Bay is our videographer for men's basketball,
Yeah.
and we were talking about this the other day, because last year, that they came to him and gave him this list of stuff that we wanted to shoot, and I think at the time he was just like, "What? Like, are you sure this? I'm not sure this is going to work." And he self-admitted afterwards, when it was all done, he's like, "Man," he's like people ate that up.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
He's like,
Yeah.
"I was wrong." He's like, "They loved it."
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's good.
and part of that was he did a good job executing it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to what you're going to throw out there this year, and it does going all the way back to Tommy Luce. I mean, it's gone on for
Yeah.
years, and you've been able to create through the entire team to make something work that is really cool.
Yeah,
So,
and that's just good. It's all just good collaboration on everyone
yeah.
in the department. I mean, from men's basketball being willing to go along with it, from the marketing team coming up with these ideas, and then leaning on us saying, "All right, how do we do it?" And then that's our job to creatively figure out how to execute it and make it look good when it comes alive. So it's just so many people involved, and it's definitely not just us.
I think it comes down to one thing, and you cannot take yourself too seriously. If that, and
No.
you got to work with people that are willing to do that a little bit. I mean, it's serious business. We all get that the wins and losses are that way, and these coaches and teams are paid to win, and you want to win, but you got to have some fun with it. And I think you guys and your entire group have done a great job of putting that together, and making that a lot of fun. So I know you have a busy day, and we'll all be in bed maybe 1 or 2 in the morning by the time this is over, but it's always
Hopefully,
fun.
because we're celebrating, right?
Yeah, that would be good. I think from a Purdue perspective, it would be something to finally end that streak and have a night. But one thing about it tonight will be is that environment is fantastic in Ross-Ade Stadium, and that part you got lightning in a bottle. You want to keep it going if you're a Purdue person, and I think that's what we'll all be watching for tonight. Paul, thanks so much for your time today, and enjoy the ride. It will be a busy time over the next few months. I'm sure it is every day as you go in. Want to thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me, Alan.
All right, sounds good. And we want to thank Triple X, on the hill but on the level, of Purdue tradition since 1929. State Farm agent Trent Johnson at trentismyagent.com. And of course, Gordon and the gang at WLFI for helping us put this together, our live stream. It's hard to believe it's been 16 years of doing this, and we have some fun doing it. It gives us a chance to talk to people like Paul. So have a great week, Dinosaurs. It's fun. And we used to think, man, live stream is really cool. Well, it's now but it still works in our world, but it's fun to do. So we appreciate that. We'll see you next week. We're gonna have we're gonna have Tim House, somebody that Paul knows well, will be our guest. Yeah, he's gonna be
that one.
Yeah, you got to do that. And Tim will be talking about, I think, their new fundraising project, which Paul, I'm sure, has had a graphic impact on with the Forge project, but other things Tim always says is good for an opinion or two, which we enjoy talking sports with him, and we'll have some fun with that as well. So have a great week, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we will see you next week on Gold and Black Live.